Hello and welcome to Public Key, the new podcast from Chainalysis. This is your host, Ian Andrews. It's been 7 months since Russia invaded Ukraine, and I've watched in horror at the needless loss of life and senseless destruction of a free and democratic nation. But I've also been inspired by the bravery and resilience of the Ukrainians. This week, we have a very special guest joining me on the podcast, Alex Bornyakov, the Ukraine Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation. He's joining me live from the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. Our discussion covers a wide range of topics, including the role of crypto in Ukraine's fundraising and defense efforts, and Alex's plans to attract tech investment to the country with initiatives like Diia City. We also discuss Alex's personal journey from tech entrepreneur to government minister. And after the episode, if you'd like to donate to Ukraine, we've included links to a few fundraising organizations in the show notes, some of which offer options to donate both via crypto as well as fiat currency. Today we have an incredibly special guest, Alex Bornyakov, who is Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation in Ukraine, joining us today. Alex, thanks so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy schedule to chat a little bit of crypto and Web3 with us.
Hi everyone. No problem. Happy to be here and tell about what's going on.
I'm excited to hear your perspective on the ground. But first, I just want to say from everybody here at Chainalysis, we stand with the people of Ukraine. I've been waking up every day since the invasion started and catching the news cycle overnight, hoping for the best. So we're standing with you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Your background, I stalked you a little bit on LinkedIn. You have an interesting path to a government minister. I think glancing, at your early years and your education, you could very easily be running a tech company in Silicon Valley. In fact, I think you were a founder before joining government service. Maybe we can start with kind of your path to the current role that you're in. And did you always have your sights on government service, or was that an unusual turn for you?
Well, actually, I was running a company, not in Silicon Valley, but out from Ukraine. But this company was a software outsourcing company. And I had a couple clients from the States as well, but mostly working for European clients. But later on, I started a company in advertisement technology sector. So we were doing a platform for running ads online. And we were operating mostly from Ukraine. Well, later on, I kind of felt that I want to do something for public good. So I moved to the States in 2016 and started to attend School of International and Public Affairs. In 2019, where I was almost graduated, president elections in Ukraine happened out of nowhere. Like Zelensky won. No one expected he would win at the beginning. And I was like observing this from distance. And by the time when he got into power, I just graduated. It was May 2019. During the course of education, I kind of passed all my responsibilities in the business because it was actually tough times. I mean, you have to spend a lot of time if you want to be graduated. I came back to Ukraine in the summer, and a friend of mine told me, there's this new Minister of Digital Transformation formed the first time in Ukrainian governance history. And they're looking for some people, so I can recommend you to a new minister. And we met. So he was looking for someone who has background both in public management, in IT business. Mikhail Fedorov, I'm talking about him. He was looking for someone who was going to develop and grow IT industry of Ukraine. So he asked me to propose a vision of transformation and reforms and policies. So what has to be done? So I made it and he liked it. So he offered me this job. And in September 2019, in the position of Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation, with a focus on development and growth of startup and venture ecosystem, including crypto, of course, because the crypto is part of this. And it was actually in the original plan back in 2019. I mean, what we have to do in order to boost growth of IT industry of Ukraine.
That's pretty amazing to get recruited into government service and go away from the startup roots. But I think the work you're doing is very important. You've become a huge proponent of Web3 and cryptocurrency. I mean, you just said it was a part of the long-range vision and plan for Ukraine even back in 2019. When did you first get into crypto? What's your origin story there?
I don't know, maybe it was back in 2012, I think. We had some computer power running idle. I was just learning about Bitcoin and mining stuff. So I offered let's connect to the pool and maybe we can utilize this computer power to mine. So we started to mine, and we got, I don't know, a couple hundred bitcoins eventually. So they sold them. It was around a year. So if I wouldn't have sold them, I think I'm going to be like multimillionaire by this time. Anyway, back in 2013, it was, I don't know, like a game. For next, I don't know, 5 or 4 years, I was just, I don't know, like observing, doing nothing. It was growing from, from $100, then to $400, then 1,000. Every time I felt like it's too late to jump in. Which we know right now that this was not true. But anyway, I was like investing in different startups. In 2017, when ICO era started, I also invested in a couple of them. In 2017, I jumped in again. I kind of felt that this is major shift, this is something new. Wanted to be part of it. And for the next 2 years, I was closely observing. I was actually advisor for one of their crypto startups in 2017, 2018. But I was doing more like advising on operational side, not on a business idea side. I got into idea, I felt like what they're doing and the spirit. And by that time, they were paying me with Ether. So this is how I got like first Ethers. I jumped in the ministry. I totally felt like this has to be somehow regulated the way this business will grow and feel comfortable in this country.
It seems like you're now the one of the heroes of the crypto for good movement, which is has got to be an exciting position. I was following you on Twitter, and you recently posted a thread talking about why you feel Ukraine is well positioned to be a Web3 powerhouse. You made a pretty compelling argument there. I'm curious, do you get people who ask you, like, why is this important to Ukraine? And not just in the current moment, but as you look to the future, like, is Web3 and crypto, is there skepticism around that? And why do you think it's an important part of the future of the country?
Well, first of all, Ukraine is quite a progressive country, as evidenced in a part its thoughtful embrace of Web3 technology. So many Ukrainians are on top of this, and we have a tech-savvy population. I'm sure that it actually came from Chainalysis that we are top 5 ranked in the percentage of cashless payment in the world, and we're among top 3 in crypto adoption index, according again to Chainalysis. And we have a really strong and powerful blockchain community, developers community. And I think like if you look, 20 years ahead, and I'm a fan of cyberpunk, and not just like a game, but the whole genre. When I look on this sci-fi movies or again like Cyberpunk 2077 game, I think this is kind of like of our future, and I think the future of payments is also like based on blockchain technologies, like metaverse thing. Like again, if you look on Cyberpunk game and universe, this virtual reality is a part of regular part of what's going on, and I think metaverse and other attributes of Web3 is our future anyway. So why not to be on the edge and why not to be one of the first among first adopters? So far, we've seen that nations with a strong tech background, they win in competition among other nations. So we want to be a nation of winners. And we're in a tough position right now with this war. So I don't think we are able to win anymore with our steel production because it's actually destroyed in the east. In Mariupol, there was 2 major large factories producing steel. They all destroyed. I think we as government, as Ukrainians, we have to think about new technologies and how we can be those who adopt it, those who produce it, those who develop it, so we can support our economy. So this is why I think it's important for us embrace everything that's coming new and see what's happened. But maybe it's not going to work out. I hear a lot of skepticism about what Zuckerberg doing right now with metaverse thing, but who knows? Maybe in 15 years, maybe in 10 years. I mentioned before that I started a software outsourcing company, and back in the days, we decided to do mobile apps. And by that time, in 2007, there was like, I don't know, maybe 100 of apps totally. And most of the people were doing websites. No one actually believed that it's going to be so huge back in 2017. Being first who started to doing apps bring us a lot of business eventually in a year or two. So I think this a similar thing happens with the Web3 in Ukraine. So if we embrace this now, we're going to benefit from this a lot.
It makes a ton of sense, right? If you're first, you can lead rather than it defaulting to companies getting set up in the US and I think your point about regulatory clarity is a big part of crypto and Web3, like making sure that it's easy for businesses to operate. A different topic, I mean, you've been pretty vocal about the need for support from financial services companies, being able to support Ukraine's access to financial means and also restricting Russian access. I've actually been pleasantly surprised at the global collective action against Russia. I mean, it surprised me how quickly everyone has come together. Is there more that you would like to see done? Is there still gaps or changes companies listening to this podcast should attempt to affect on the financial services sector?
I think there's always more to be done. Indeed, we so much appreciated as a nation, of course, not just me personally, but as a nation for the so quick response and condemning what Russia is doing and doing this brave actions, despite of the fact that some of them are losing money and some of them are losing a lot of money. But standing on the right side or defending humanitarian or democratic values, it shows responsibility of the people in business to the future generations, because like if we show by our example that money comes first, and I know what we have left for our children as a legacy. So because that what's going now is going to be history soon, and someone's going to read this history, and reading this history will understand or make some decision based on this history. So this is really important that show that values are bigger than money, and especially when maybe in the beginning it was not clear, but Russia is committing is a real genocide in Ukraine. Personally, I think that there's no longer room for a business to stay neutral. Well, technology is neutral, but people leading the tech business should not be. Well, it started from big companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, PayPal, many more. But I think that crypto companies also should have stopped doing business with Russia eventually.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes it's complicated, but I think that that's the responsibility of those who are running those companies. And see, especially every day we see more and more like cruel things that Russia is doing. We still working on some companies and working with the companies, inviting them to Ukraine, especially from financial sector, because like before the war, none of them known Ukraine as country, and it was like known on their radar or something. So now everyone knows about us, and sometimes we approach them and tell, like, listen, this your service going to really help refugees or a lot of Ukrainians left unemployed, and this is going to help them to provide for themselves. So it's not just about business, but also about helping regular people. So of course, some businesses say like, listen, we're going to wait till the war is over, and there's sanctions, and the policies are so complex. We don't want to hit the wall. And I totally understand that people from West, it's really far away, and sometimes they just not fully understand like to which extent they can work with the Ukrainian people or those territories that under occupation if they're violating something. So this is really hard at this point, but I know that we have a bright future with this. We established links with hundreds of tech companies, like most of them totally support us, and I think once the war is over, we're gonna have all the tech companies in Ukraine. Just right before the war, we launched the Diia City, which is sort of like a Silicon Valley in Ukraine. We have a vision. We had vision, and we still have a vision that we can build the biggest IT hub in Eastern Europe in Ukraine. So we invite all the companies to build R&D centers to provide services here, and this is part of our job.
Diia City is amazing. And something that actually shocked me as I was doing research for the conversation, you just had the Kiev Tech Summit. Like you actually planned a tech conference in the middle of a war. I mean, I planned a few tech conferences. That's hard enough in, very normal conversations. And you actually even had Vitalik showed up and spoke at the conference, which is incredible. But talk to me about the motivation for the conference. Like, why now?
Well, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of bright and smart people here.
Yeah.
Even in the times of war, they still need to communicate. We still need to exchange ideas and work with each other. So it was important to show that there's like still hope, and we shouldn't stop. The fact that Vitalik Buterin showed up it's really like cheering people. And I remember that, when I went there and he was there, like I know tons of people approaching him with with the business idea, pitching him with their startups. We think not just about today. I mean, in the first months, it was just all short-term planning. So we were planning like maybe day or 2 3 days ahead. But in 2 months, we realized that we can't live this way. I mean, we realized that Ukraine is going to survive. We realized that they're not going to destroy us, which was actually their goal, just completely eradicate Ukraine from the world map. Maybe just left, I don't know, V for like western part as, I don't know, as some enclave. But Ukraine, according to them, it must have disappeared. When we realized that, we started to plan like midterm or even long term. And events like this, it's important that there was a lot of from crypto part, not just like regular event, but also dedicated to Web3. By this example, we want to show that we're not just fighting the enemy, we also building our future.
It's a powerful statement. You're confident in the fact that there is a future. Just amazing that you're able to have that long range thinking and vision current situation. One of the things that's gotten talked about a lot is the successful fundraising campaign that you've been a part of. I think it's now over $60 million in crypto donations. What made you even think we should accept donations in crypto? I mean, was that an obvious thing given your background and experience? At the time, it seemed unusual, kind of uncertain if people would send money even. But obviously, it's been a massive success.
Yeah, indeed. It was not so obvious because it's like there was second day of war. It was so hectic and like everything was just like, wow. I don't believe it's happening. Like, but then we started to get requests from our militaries like, we need this, we need that, and we realized that on the second day war, the National Bank of Ukraine, like, they severely limited ability to pay in almost in any type of fiat currency. So crypto really helped for the first day because we were able to cover some immediate needs of the armed force of Ukraine, and not just only armed force of Ukraine. The idea to accept crypto is like because actually there was no other way.
Yeah.
This is why we turned to crypto. Like, okay, if there's no way, but you can't stop crypto. Let's just accept and start this campaign to accept crypto donations.
Michael Chabanian, who I'm sure you know, the CEO at Kuna, he testified here in the U.S. in a hearing that one of our co-founders at Chainalysis, Jonathan Levin, also spoke.
I saw that.
Oh, awesome. He described the situation in the early days of the war where the entire banking system was basically offline, right? The ATMs didn't work. There was no cash currency to be had. Crypto was the only way that people could pay. It's a common critique of crypto that you can't actually buy anything with it. But obviously that's not the case. You were able to buy supplies for the military. The normal person on the street was using crypto. How did that happen? How were you able to actually buy things with crypto?
Well, the funny thing is, if someone is really in need, figure it out. And
Yeah.
on the regular circumstances, I would also say like, oh, that's probably impossible, or it's just I don't know. I have a way, like I have a fiat currency, I can pay through the bank. Why would I bother with crypto? But when
Yeah.
it turns out that you can, and you start to look for other way, and we figure out that some suppliers are even accept crypto without any exchange, and if they even not accept crypto, there are exchanges, and there's possibility to exchange and send them over. And actually, like FTX helped us a lot, and other exchanges. Kuna, of course, they were on top of this, and they still are. Their help is significant, the most significant, but still like major exchanges, and they were working with us and helping us to do whatever we want in order to provide proper functionality for accepting the amounts and send them over or exchange them. Of course, I don't know, after a month, we figure out that more and more people are accepting. So if in the beginning, like maybe like 30-40% were accepting, in the end, most of them just were accepting crypto. Like 60% of them, like if they hear, oh, you're from Ukraine, you want this, we can do it in crypto. That's fine. We understand.
That's amazing. That's
You can't pay
amazing.
with the bank.
What's the current state of the banking system? Is it back online or is it
Yeah,
still disrupted? Okay.
with some limitations, and
Yeah.
yeah, because a major export items of Ukraine was grain and steel. But we are importing a lot from other countries. So the national bank is doing measures to prevent money outcome from country because we have our national currency, and if we import too much, the exchange rate is like hit the sky. So I actually not carrying cash for the last couple of weeks here, and it's fine. I can pay like with my phone almost everywhere, and everything is working fine.
If I went to a grocery store, would I be able to buy in crypto?
No, 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 no. No.
Okay.
We're still working on
Yeah.
that. But again, National Bank of Ukraine, they also decided to set a pause on crypto because they think it's too disruptive in the times of war. Because they want to control a lot of things right now. In a peaceful time, they were basically agreed with their with what we're doing, and they were supportive. And they were working on CBDC project, so there's a lot of plans before the war. I think once the financial situation stabilizes, we're going to be back on track with crypto and crypto adoption.
That's exciting. There was news 2 weeks ago. The U.S. Department of Treasury announced sanctions against one of these pro-Russian paramilitary groups operating in the country, Task Force Rusich, I think they're called. We had done some research on this group earlier in the summer because we noticed that they were fundraising via social media for supplies and kind of fundraising in crypto. I was happy to see Treasury step in and sanction these individuals, hopefully shutting down that fundraising effort. But anything else that we should be pushing for on the financial side in terms of blocking that avenue of fundraising?
It definitely should be done. I think they what they're doing is not right, but I think major focus should be on money laundering stuff because I know they also turn to crypto and well, basically on those hearing in the Senate, this issue was raised, but the expert said that it's not so huge like at this point, but I think it should be carefully studied and monitoring and block all the groups that doing fundraising in crypto. We have a dedicated group of people in our enforcement agency that following this track, and of course it's actually pretty successful. I don't want to disclose too much details, but we on this. But what I observed that what they doing that they do like a huge amount of small fundraisings. It's not like a huge fund that like a crypto fund of Ukraine, but they doing small things, and it's really hard to track them. But we're doing our best. Let me tell you this.
We're here to support for sure. I think we saw they had raised when we published the blog in July. It was about 2 million. I think it's gotten up to about 3 million USD value. But you're right. It's all very small donations. Appears to be kind of individuals that are sending money. But hopefully we can shut that down. A different topic, and you mentioned this earlier, Diia City. Talk about that. So this is a hub for tech companies. There's tax incentives. Is the idea to attract international companies, or actually to build startups that are Ukraine native, like founded in the country? What's the target?
Well, it's actually both. So DC is like a virtual. It's a like virtual country. So where you can register your business, get tax incentive. We call this legal regime, in special legal regime in Ukraine. Unlike other type of companies, if you're apply for Diia City and you have to meet some criteria, like you have to at least have 9 people on board. If you're not startup, if you're startup, you can actually have like whatever you want, like 2 or 3, whatever. And then you have to have like average salary per month in a company, and of course you have to be related to IT or high technologies. You get like 5 times less taxes for the war, and still we have thousands of companies and almost 300,000 developers. So we wanted to create an environment for them to be internationally competitive. We wanted also to bring a lot of perks, which actually help them to raise capital easily. But also providing this environment, we hope to attract international business too, because a lot of companies looking for a place to set up their business, and if they see that policy making and legal infrastructure in this country is easy to use, it's cheap, they're moving headquarters there. And this was our goal. and to be like one of the top jurisdictions for IT companies, for our startups to create company, fundraise, and grow in Ukraine because of their ex-Soviet complex legal procedures. If you raise money, there's a whole bunch of paperwork. So, for example, we didn't have something called safe agreement or convertible note. Pretty common tool in the venture world. Yeah. So in Diia City, you can have this. If you're a startup, you can have safe agreement and convertible note in regular circumstances. But if you're a resident of Diia City, you can do this.
That's great. So it gives you faster legal process, lower taxes,
Yeah.
more exposure to raise capital. I just saw news this week, actually, a firm called Horizon Capital had a closing on a large venture capital fund that was targeted. I don't think it was just Ukraine they're planning to invest in. It's more broad across Eastern Europe, but $125 million in newly raised funds for investment, which is amazing. I mean, that's a big fundraise.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and we're so happy. And recently, I was in New York announcing a Blue and Yellow Fund from FF Venture, and this is also the huge initiative, almost $50 million that's going to go directly to Ukrainian startups.
That's exciting. So if anybody's listening to this and thinking about starting a company and needs some capital, there's funds to be had there in Ukraine. I'm curious, like you seem very focused on the future, the post-war. As you said, it's become clear that Russia will not succeed in eradicating Ukraine. And so there has to be thinking about what does rebuilding mean. The opportunity to build new cities with a technology-first approach, I think, has a lot of opportunity. How much thought have you been able to give on that? And within your part of the ministry, is there a lot of discussion about what a digital city actually looks like?
About rebuilding, the major problem at this point is how people are going to survive winter, because so many homes were destroyed and still being destroyed. People flee. But even in some cities where we regain control, the infrastructure is completely broken. So we as a ministry now more focusing on digitizing the process of and speeding up the process of reconstruction permits and applications, or fully digitize the process of documenting losses or damages. And I don't think we'll be focused on some like virtual, or we have some projects that we're going to announce soon with the metaverse and stuff. But as a ministry, our major concern right now is well-being of people. In some places, it's so much worse. It's so bad. People have homes that have no water, no electricity, no heat, and it's getting cold. So this is the top priority at this point.
Speed up the rebuilding effort.
Yeah.
Eliminate the government bureaucracy where you can. Well, Alex, last question for you. It's been over half a year, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I'm amazed at the resilience of the Ukrainian people. But so many folks that I talk to want to know what more can they do to help. Obviously, fundraising is one avenue. Is there anything else that you would suggest that people outside Ukraine can do to assist in the effort?
Thank you for this question. It's really important to hear it. And my answer would be that the best way to help Ukraine is to invest in Ukraine. This is what we tell, at least in the ministry. Of course, fundraising is important, and still we getting donations and crypto fund of Ukraine, and the major fund that are run under President Zelensky's supervision is called United 24. It also accepts crypto, by the way, and all the other ways to help. And we have great emissaries there, including Hollywood actors that promote this. This is one side of the coin. Another side of the coin, that I think that Ukrainians learn how to provide for themselves. And a lot of them just lost this opportunity. But it doesn't mean they just want to sit and wait for donations or, I don't know, for charity. They want to be involved. They want to work. So I think my message would be that if you know some people from Ukraine, hire them or give them job, or, I don't know, recommend them. This definitely would help. Like if you know a Ukrainian company, again, you can recommend it for some work. If it's IT, it's very easy. I mean, it's a freelancer from Ukraine, work with freelancers from Ukraine. Definitely those money that you pay, they're going to supply him. Some portion of this money go as a taxes to help government. So we need to make our best to make our economy still running. because this is what Russia wants. They just want to intimidate us. They want to make us hopeless, just lose hope. And if our economy stop running, maybe like people will be desperate enough to stop fighting. And what's still, if our economy is running, we have resources, we can fight this war and we can win.
That's something that I think we can all think about, focus on investment into Ukraine, not just charity, and we'll look forward to the future when you're winning. Alex, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. We're going to try and get this message out there, and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you, and bye. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Public Key. If you could do me a small favor, share it with your friends and colleagues. Help keep the focus on the tragedy happening in Ukraine. In addition to the battlefield casualties, millions have been displaced from their homes, and the global food supply has been disrupted by this senseless Russian war. We at Chainalysis stand with Ukraine. We've included links to 8 organizations in the show notes, some of which offer options to donate via crypto and fiat currencies. Your support is very much appreciated.